You turn it. Can it go sideways?
If you could see what I see, our community and unity, no frustration from brutality, with our black nation a reality.
This is my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective. And welcome everybody to the New African Perspective, the show that is dedicated to the history, to the liberation of new African people. And Mama Ayo is frozen sideways, look like it. I don't know what's going on with that. But we are, it kind of threw me off. But yes, we're the New African Perspective, where we are dedicated to the liberation of new African people. I'm your host, Brother Prophecy, and ride with me is none other than the Queens, the President and Vice President of the Republic of New Africa. And I'm going to say it for her since she's having some technical difficulties. We got Vice President Mama Ayo Deli in the house, and of course, none other than
Mama.
No doubt, no doubt. And we are a part of something called the New African Independence Movement. That is where we struggle, where we fight, where we put all of our energy into bringing about creating our own, getting our own land, independence, self-determination, reparation, and we're trying to create an economic system that is not about the exploitation of man by man. Something that I think we all should get on board with, especially this particular day, because it's like, you know, this day is real significant as far as exploitation of man by man, and we're gonna get into that, a lot of that. You know what? I don't think we even discussed earlier which aim of the revolution we were supposed to be doing today, did we?
I think it's going to be number 9 or 10.
It's 9 or 10. Okay, all right. So let me look that up really quick. do you weren't happy to know what that aim is off the top of your head, do you?
I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Okay.
I know. So just give me a second. Let me see if I can look this up, because we've been doing this, going over these aims of the revolution of this wonderful document from our Code of Umoja, which is our Constitution, and which it outlines aims and goals of our revolution. And let me see, we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're on number 10, because last week we talked about sexism, and this week we're talking about aim of the revolution number 10, to end color and class discrimination while not abolishing what's that salubrious diversity, and to promote self-respect and mutual respect amongst all people in the society.
Okay. Can you read it one more time? Just read it one more time.
Hold on. Let me try to pull this up. Let me try to pull this up so we can all see it. Just give me a second. All right. We're at to end color and class discrimination while not abolishing, what's that word? Salubrious. Salubrious, yes. To end color and class discrimination while not abolishing salubrious diversity, and to promote self-respect and mutual respect amongst all people in the society.
Ashe.
All right, okay, all right. So, what are your thoughts on this particular one? Saying we need to end discrimination, not make sure that we do not create a nation that is based on discriminating, or we're not discriminating against each other for whatever reason. What do you think about this particular aim of the revolution?
I mean, this is a very important one because you know that us being bred in this particular society, and then generation after generation after generation of being bred into this particular society, it has created diversion between us. You know, like we us as Black people in America, we battle one another, okay, and we
Mm-hmm.
discriminate on color. We discriminate on color. We've seen it many a time. We discriminate. We got colorism issues, light skin versus dark skin issues. We got class issues where folks that make more money think they better than the next person. So in this particular society, we're saying that we are creating. Why? Because our ancestors and our elders was very understood very well um, what conditions we have endured psychologically speaking. So that's the reason why this is here. We have witnessed all the way up until present date, us treating each other like crap, not loving, not respecting one another, not honoring one another. So this is the attempt of, okay, let's get us back focused. Because when you love, the ancients say, know thyself, love thyself. When you know thyself, you know who you are, you love thyself, it's easier to treat the next person with the utmost respect because you're not lacking anything when you love yourself, right?
Definitely.
Um, I love how they salubrious diversity. Salubrious means healthy diversity, meaning,
Mhm.
you know, we are each very, very unique and uniquely made and uniquely created, and we need to respect that about each other, right? We need to respect each other's gifts and talents and the different things that we come to the table with, you know. So, yeah, I like this aim.
Yeah,
Makes
definitely, definitely. Yeah, it talks about like making sure we're not dividing each other over colorism and class.
mm,
Two very important things and really significant today. I mean, we understand the dynamic when living under a white supremacist culture, that it has been programmed that white is right, black get back. As a matter of fact, it used to be a song called that back in the day. Uh, Mama Ayo, if you can hear us when you're trying to come onto the program, it's saying something about you need to connect your mic and camera before you can be added. So I can't add you because I guess before you actually come in, your mic and your camera is like turned off. So you probably gonna have to go back out and come back in. Okay, yeah, she just went out. So hopefully she'll be able to get her stuff corrected and she can join us shortly. But yes, um, we've been indoctrinated into this whole colorism thing in America, where the closer you are to European, the closer you are to white, the better you are. That is, the standard of beauty. That's why so many of our sisters straighten their hair, put these wigs on, have blonde hair, and all of these type of things. Contact lenses changing the natural color of your eyes because we've been conditioned to believe that this melanin that is really a blessing that we have. We've been taught that it's a curse, and we try to shed it and run away with it. I know, me being a highly melanated male growing up in this society, especially growing up in Mississippi, that's something I had to get over for a long time. So that's an important, very important aspect. And the other thing, they said class,
mm-hmm,
and that's really relevant, being that it is so-called Labor Day today. And there's Mama Ayo. That's really relevant, being that it is Labor Day today, because we're actually dealing with a class struggle. You're dealing with individuals who, many of us, well, I won't say many of us, some of us have reached the level of the petty bourgeoisie and no longer identify with the people, no longer identify with the struggle, but identify with the colonizer, and will side with the colonizer. So these type of things we cannot have in the nation, in the world that we're trying to establish. We have no place for them. We have no place for no. That's why we capitalize I, and we have lowercase w for we. I mean, I'm sorry, we capitalize the W in we, and we have a lowercase I, because the collective is more important than the individual. And I'm gonna go back to you, Mama Ayo, since you got cut off. What do you think about this particular goal of the revolution, aim of the revolution?
Can you hear
Can
me?
you, yeah, I can hear you. Could you hear us?
What was the aim? I'm
Oh,
having
okay.
difficulties.
I got you. I got you. So this particular aim is to end color and class discrimination while not abolishing the salubrious diversity, and to promote self-respect and mutual respect amongst all people in the society.
Well, as New Africans, we are trying to, of course, eliminate eventually the Willie Lynch syndrome. That Willie Lynch syndrome is whether you believe that it was written or not. It is true. We see colorism all the time within our families, within the community, within the classroom, and it's a real issue. We want to embrace our reality that we are a combination of a lot of different tribal roots. We were impressed, raped, and as you say, our color. That the color in us, the melanin in us, has been watered down. We would say it has been. We know that. That's the historical perspective. And yet, when we were coming out of enslavement, in 1862, 1863, 1864, sometimes using those the color issue, the paleness of our skin to reach freedom was one of the tools that we used.
Mhm.
It is not happening these days. It is used as a tool to fight to actually, and it's used by the oppressor man. We talk about capitalism and imperialism. It's especially prevalent in the entertainment industry. We all know you could have who are the women or the men that they promote the most. It's usually those that are fair skinned and have features that look more towards the Caucasoid colonial masters. And even when we have our entertainment, the backup singers, the backup dancers, etc., etc. And it's very prevalent, and we know it exists because it comes into the classroom in the when the children are checking each other. So we want to end that.
Mhm.
We want to end classlessness because right now you and I we're all workers of the world. If we believe in the opposite of capitalism, imperialism, white supremacy, and racism, we're all workers. Whether you a doctor, a physicist, whether you a person that cleans rooms in a hotel or cooks in the cafeteria, we're all workers, and we deserve to be treated as such. And when we talk about salubrious, that means your internal gift, what God has put on your heart. If you don't want to go to college and you want to work with your hands, or you want to work in the land, or you want to sew, or you want to cook, or you want to babysit children, that is your gift. But your gift should be put to the service of building the new African nation. And we've been saying it and saying it, but it's us believing it and working through those. And it's very difficult because colorism and classism begins in the homes of the family. So that is what we're striving to do. And when we feel that when we're in work, study, and training and building our local units, our district assemblies, and moving on up into the government, the government, that becomes second nature to not even deal with that, because it's not allowed when you're building family, community, nation, and race. It's going to be stopped when those instances are reveal itself. If you're in work, study, and training, and you're working with criticism and self-criticism. I yield.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah, another very important, crucial aim of the revolution, aim in which we gotta accomplish, y'all, because we can't continue to shoot ourselves in our own foot and be our worst enemies, dividing ourselves over things that really are not even issues that other people who don't have our interests have put on us. But Sama Ott, what we got on tap for the show today? I see you multitasking. I see a queen, a mother, and a president all in one right now, doing all of the duties at once.
Because sometimes you got to say stuff to these people. But okay, so on today's show, it's Labor Day.
Mm.
So we're going to talk about the history of Labor Day. This should be quite interesting.
Yep.
People. I mean, I know Black folks don't care why they are, but it's good to know what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
In our Black Power file, we are going to honor an inventor, Frederick Jones, who invented the control device for the internal combustion. Okay, we're going to honor him today in the Black Power file. Also, in our Cadre Corner, one of these favorite that my always refers to, we're going to go over economic hitman. Oh, quite interesting.
Yep. Definitely.
But I know we got some things in the news because I done already seen some folks posting about and wanting to talk about, hit with bricks. Got a lot happening.
Yeah, so I guess we might as well jump right into it. There's one story in particular that I want to talk about, and that's body cam footage was just released of the murder of a 21-year-old pregnant Black woman. She was murdered in a place called Blendon Township, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. Now, this sister, 21-year-old Takaya Young, which was pregnant, baby due in November, so she was far along. She was accused of stealing some liquor out of a store. Accused of stealing some liquor out of a store, and we're gonna go to the footage in a second, but so police were in the parking lot and they went up to her car and they told her to get out of the car. She was like, why? What's going on? He said, well, somebody accused you of stealing something. And she said, well, I didn't steal anybody. And she started to explain. Police pulled their gun and she was like, what, you gonna shoot me? And then the police began to try to break the window. This is an important part, because they tried to, either they had a device that you use to break a window, which I don't think it was. I think it was just the butt of their gun. But he started to bang on the window trying to break the window. Now the police escalated this. So when she did that, when the police did that, she tried to drive away. And it was two police officers, and a police officer in front shot her. Point blank, shot her in the chest through the window. And the car slowly kind of drove into the side of the store, the building, and the police basically, that's where the video pretty much ends. Now these police officers were put on administrative leave pending investigation. This happened August 24th. The identities of the police are being concealed because, according to the Ohio Police Department, it is their policy to protect victims of crimes. So the police who murdered this pregnant Black woman are considered victims of a crime. And before it's over, if this don't piss you off, I'm gonna tell you something that's really gonna piss you off. But I'm gonna say that for after the video. So they are hiding the identity of these murderers, claiming that they are victims. So I mean, enough of me talking about it. Let's just go to the video and we'll see for ourselves.
Hey, out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car.
What?
Out of the car.
What?
They said you stole stuff, do not leave. Get out of the car.
Shit, the other
Then get out. No. Then get out. Get out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car. Shots fired. Shots fired. Stop the goddamn car. Stop the goddamn car.
We're gonna have a 24 on the couple now. She's gonna be out.
So yeah, she was the mother of two. Had another one that was on the way that did not make it. Both her and her child died. But yeah, you saw it right in the video. They just came right up to her, aggressed upon her, tried to break her window. Really, I mean, a lot of people talk about, she drove off and all of this. She drove off because she was afraid, because you had these two big police officers trying to break into her car. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
So just in case the public does not know already, that the police are not black friends. We don't consider them neighborhood protectors. That's not how black people. It does not matter what type of black person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
We automatically have an internal response when we see police. Like, we don't get a safe response. We don't have a safe internal response when we. So for this woman to like, look, out the car, come out, car, get out the car, man. I'm not getting out. Then he just shot her.
Mm-hmm.
So you murderer, you wicked man, you, huh? That has you wanted to kill this black woman. You wanted to, because you had other options to stop a vehicle. Didn't talk about stop the vehicle. You didn't already shot the lady. That's why it's not her foot is on the. I'm just saying that's just ridiculous. There is no, and yet they're utilizing the use of protect victims.
Mm-hmm.
For victims, they're murderers. You just don't want folks that area to come find, because they gonna come and find. They gonna find them. A woman that was pregnant. Oh yeah.
Yep. Mama Ayo, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, not without saying some pretty profane and inflammatory things. So let me just say that for the people of Columbus, for her family, if there's no justice for this young lady, and our condolences to the family. We are being victimized and murdered daily, and I'm sure just like this young lady was murdered in that fashion, there are hundreds of stories around this country like that. We just hearing about this one, and the youth and our men and some of the elders. Nobody gets a pass. Nobody gets a pass in this society because we are hunted while being black, while being new Africans. So it doesn't matter. There are always uh, alternatives. You had a whole Asian person who shot up a school and you talked him down. SWAT did not across the street blow his head off or shoot him in the heart. You have and you know that woman was pregnant because you saw her before she got in the car, and all you had to do, if you really really wanted to stop her, like we hear all the time, put something in front of her car to stop her or blow out a tire. But you took the easiest. You shot first and asked questions and tried to cover up stuff later. Even though there was a body cam, you thought, well, we told her to stop. So why didn't you shoot out the tire? to make her stop instead of taking her life for an alleged, alleged
Mm-hmm.
report of theft, alleged report of theft. Because until you were able to literally find that on her, you have to say alleged. So she was already, as they say, you already assumed she was guilty before proven innocent, which is totally against the so-called Constitution of this United Snakes of America. So we continue to tell our people one set of rules for people who don't look like us, and another set of rules for the descendants of enslaved Africans. I yield.
Yeah. So I told you I'm a say something that's gonna really piss you off. Um, while doing research for this, and I was trying to look for just pictures. I went on Facebook, tried to look up, maybe a Facebook page, if I could see a Facebook page with like pictures, real pictures of her, and came across a page. It said it was of her, but it was a clone page. Sometimes people will take your identity and they'll make a fake Facebook page of you. And that's what some individual did. And to show how disrespect these people have for our life, on this page, it basically makes a mockery of her death. It says, yeah, I'm responsible for my death because my black privilege thought that I could run over a police, ha ha, just making a mockery of her death on Facebook, and it's still up right now. Facebook ain't took it down. I know people have been um complaining about it, reporting on it, but it's still up. In fact, there it is right there. I read it. It said, just to let everybody know it was my fault while I'm dead. My black privilege thought I could run over a cop. More
We don't
fool
even
me,
talk
right?
like that.
Yeah.
We don't even talk like that.
Yes. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's just like even it's bad enough that this human being, this young woman, pregnant woman, is dead, lost your life, but you don't have enough compassion for a human being, regardless to what you believe, regardless to what your politics are. It don't even matter. That's a human being that is dead. And that's what you do. That's what you choose to do. It's sickening to me. Go to some of the comments. I see Melly Queen said, man, these elf boys are sickening. We have to build our own society where we can protect our own people. Definitely 1,000%. I believe in that 1,000%, Melly Queen. More homegrown terrorist attacks. Exactly. Might as well call it for what it is. Joe Gonzalez, how you doing? He said, revolutionary greetings, comrade. There's so much going on, and it's sad. Sending revolutionary love to all those affected by such tragedies. Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you, comrade.
So yeah, that's the only story that I really. There's other things going on, but that's the only one that I really had time to get into this morning because I had a lot to do for the show. But we're gonna take a brief break. Well, let me get into another announcement from Melly Queen. He said, it's that time again. Save the date, March 29th, 30th, and 31st, 2024, Nation Day. We will be celebrating in Columbus, Georgia, Dr. John Henry Clark Town. Free the land. Definitely. You'll hear more about Nation Day in the upcoming months. But yeah, when we get back, we're gonna do a cadre corner on this economic system, and matter of fact, some of the strategies and tactics of this system, using these economic institutions and utilizing these to really colonize and control the whole world. When we get back, so you don't want to miss that. And of course, we're gonna break Labor Day all the way down when we come back. This is the New African Perspective. Free the land, y'all.
Free the land.
Free the land. Any means
Necessary.
I'm Brother Zumbi New Afri,
Opiemi, New Afrique.
and we represent the Harriet Tubman District on the eastern shore of Maryland. We here at Nation Day 55 here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Enjoying it. Here to represent the Harriet Tubman District on the Eastern Shore, and just want to commemorate and celebrate the 55th year of the PGRNA.
Right on. Time to break it down.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Tajwa Jasiri from Columbus, Georgia. I'm with the People's Party for Independence. Our organization, we're standing on 5 principles of defense, education, economics, politics, and culture. And in doing that, we think if we can control these 5 principles, then we'll be able to keep the community safe, clean, and organized. And in keeping the community safe, clean, and organized, we know that we need to own, operate, and control the community. And in doing so, we think 5 institutions will help us, and that's a grocery store, a school, a hospital, a bank, and a community center. We've already purchased a community center. Next, we're going to implement a grocery store for our people. So we can all come together and unite to fight against all the ills inside of our communities. We'll be able to free the land, we'll be able to govern ourselves, and we'll be able to put ourselves in a position to where we can have some wiggle room. We might not always be free, but we'll be free enough to where we can breathe. So that's what we're looking to do, to have survival programs in place pending revolution. And we want to work with everybody around the world, work with everybody within the Republic, so that we can have some type of cohesion, some type of common unity to do what we need to do in order to put ourselves in a position to be what we need to be.
As young people, you have to develop a sense of courage, right? I like to say freedom ain't free.
Study the writings, speeches, documents of our freedom fighters in order to free our neo-colonialized minds. This is the Cadre Corner.
All right, okay, so Mama Ayo seemed like her broadcast kind of dropped off. I guess she's coming back online, hopefully, and we're gonna talk about economic hitman. Okay, Mama Ayo is back with us, so I'm gonna turn it over to you, Mama Ayo. Can you hear us, Mama Ayo?
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
economic
Thank you.
hitman.
We're going to talk about economic hitman. Not only just the film, which I was able to see via Netflix, and I would encourage all of us who have Netflix, go in. They have an economic hitman 1 and an economic hitman 2, but there is also a novel, and this is an what we call an autobiographical piece of work. And according to the author, he spent almost 25 to 27 years trying to put his thoughts on paper. And he explains that economic hitmen are hired by governments of the world to go in and destabilize. And they literally take trillions, when I say trillions of dollars, out of the economic pockets of various countries, various leaders. And some of the things that he talks about is the horrendous way capitalism, and I'm just going to put it, capitalism, imperialism comes in and tries to control countries, and they come with their various strategies and tactics. They may come with bribes, they may come with attempts to fund what we call organizations and movements that go against the leaderships of countries. And when those particular strategies and tactics don't work, with, let's say, a leader is sent women, the leader is given money, the leader is given all types of incentives to destabilize or to go against their values for their country. And when they don't do that, y'all, when they don't do that, they literally, go in and destabilize to the point where they assassinate leaders. They paint pictures. They send out misinformation. They go in and corrupt bank accounts. There is nothing that happens that you could think about. You think that it's real, but it's almost as if it's constructed. It is manufactured. And we've bought into many of that. We need to think about various situations that we have, so that the countries, economic hitmen, have so much power that they literally can change the tone and the belief systems of people and cause internal struggles and strife to the point where regimes have been brought down. And um, he mentions uh, he mentions various countries like Panama. He mentions all kinds of places that these things have been done to people. And it's amazing that we can hear things like this and not question and query every single thing that happens. And he said I appreciate this particular author, because what he did was he just know that I believe of this country, and he believes that everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And economic hitmen, and they're mercenaries. They're mercenaries. Uh, take those basic rights away, and it goes beyond the United States. We're talking about human rights. We're talking we're talking about the rights of self-determination. So with that, I encourage uh, all of us, if you don't have the time to read the autobiography, please, it's on Netflix. Economic Hitman 1, Economic Hitman 2. And think about some of the smear campaigns, some of the misinformation that has happened in our country, this country right here, in the United Snakes of America. And think about how they've literally brought people down through misinformation and the manipulation of facts. And with that, I yield.
That's the economic hitman. And the book is called The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And there are a couple of different documentaries on it. And yeah, like you said, very important. And it really shows the vicious nature of this capitalist system, because literally you have countries who have been overthrown. You have leaders who have been assassinated. You have
Absolutely.
So-called democratically elected leaders who have been overthrown by the CIA and U.S. government simply because they would not take the resources that were meant for their people, to benefit their people, and give them over to Western and American powers. So they seek their economic hitmen, and they use their institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, International Money Fund.
Yes.
And they come to countries and they say, hey, we'll give you a loan to build up your infrastructure. And with these loans
Absolutely.
come all type of requirements. You have to turn over your industry. You have to turn over your sewer systems, your energy systems to these private corporations, so the people of this country can be exploited. That's the reason why you can go to other countries and their money is worth very little, and your money is worth a whole lot, because the United States have made these countries debase their currency, so their money is not worth anyway. A lot of people say Africa is poor. Africa is one of the richest places on earth, richest continents on earth. Africa is not poor. The people of Africa is poor, and the economic hitmen, these techniques and strategy, is the reason why. So that's very, very important.
And I agree with you, the prophecy, and I want all of us who call ourselves nationalists, Pan-Africanists, to understand, not only is this happening in the United States on various forms, and I will make the argument for Jackson. I will off Jackson, Mississippi, our nation's capital, but I will make the argument for what is happening in Francophone Africa right now, with the various types of coups going on, with the Niger being at the forefront. We can talk about the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Gabon, all of those places. Pay attention, and even Haiti. Pay attention. We have to pay attention. We could talk about Nicaragua right now. We could talk about all of these countries who go against the grain of so-called democracy and want to put in what we call a people's government, meaning we're talking about socialism or scientific socialism, and the so-called United Nations. The people of the United Nations are held hostage, because you have these economic hitmen and what we call these destabilizers, these economic destabilizers that come into the country. And I'm charging the World Bank, the IMF, USAID, all of them. It hasn't changed. It has not changed. And they go in and they're plotting their courses in order to bring down, to listen to the what's on the ground, and making sure that they're there to destabilize and to create dissension. How do we buttress that? We don't just talk about the symptom. How do we combat that? It's called unity. It's called Pan-African unity. It's called what we call African world reparations, African world, justice, knowing that who we are, what we are, and we have to get away from this, what we call tribalism, classism, and the list goes on. So that is how we do it. That is how we do it. We call on our brothers and sisters at home and abroad to unite, to build that, what we call that undying and revolutionary love and respect and protection of one another. And that is how we can combat this economic hitman system, because it's become a system, an institution. And I yield.
Definitely. What can we? You said we can watch the documentary on Netflix. What do you know where we can get the book?
Yes, you can, of course, any bookstore. I've even gone so far as if you Google it, you will find a PDF copy that you can download to your computer.
Okay.
Thrift Books, Amazon, it's out there, and I appreciate it. Yes, it is a European Caucasoid who wrote the book, but sometimes people's conscience, as we've seen in the cases of many, the conscience doesn't allow them to take some of these secrets to the grave. That's what I call that divine justice.
And speaking of economic hitman, this book and documentary that outlines the strategies and vicious nature of a capitalist system. Today is Labor Day. And, most people, we just, like Sama'at said, we just care about, we don't have to go to work, so we're going to turn up, not knowing exactly what it is we're celebrating, why we're celebrating it. But Labor Day has a very interesting history that most of us don't know about. And I think it's important that we understand where Labor Day comes from. So I'm going to try to briefly lay out the history of Labor Day, because it can be basically, it has its origins in the American labor union, the working class labor movement in America in the late 1800s, mid to late
Exactly.
1800s. It comes with the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Now, you have to understand that the Industrial Revolution came about because of the success of slavery in the South. We made so much money that it led to the boom of industry in the North. So it's all connected. Now, the labor movement, you kind of see it rising up really after slavery. Now, it's an interesting connection. All of a sudden, you have this whole population of free labor that you just don't have as easy access to, and you have this rise of industry that requires another workforce. And you see ridiculous working conditions. On average, every day you work like 20 hours, 16 to 20 hours. You averaged about 100 hours a week. No child labor laws. The life expectancy was very low. People died all the time, and they still do. But people died like all the time based on the work conditions. They had no regulations. Terrible work conditions. And during that time, the people, the working class realized, well, look, man, we don't have any time for ourselves. We dine on these jobs, and plus we're doing all the work, and these owners are getting all the money. They're getting all the money. We're getting very little. So we're not even really benefiting from the seeds of our labor. And this led to a socialist movement in America, a really strong socialist movement in the late 1800s, where they began to organize. You had socialist organizations. You had different organizations, and they began to have these strikes and unions and all type of activity. On May 1st, there was an international protest, workers' strike that occurred. May 1st, 1886. One of the biggest ones was held in Chicago in, I think, the Haymarket. They call it the Haymarket Affair. This particular strike lasted for like 4 or 5 days. And by May 4th, there was a big time riot. Police aggressed upon the crowd. Now you had all socialists and different type of organizations that were organized, and they threw fire bombs into the police, and they killed a lot of police. So it was going down. You had the seeds of a revolution of working class people about to start right there in 1886 against the system of capitalism. And like I said, it went down a big time, really battle between the people and the police. And like I said, a lot of police got killed. They don't even know how many civilians died. I guess they didn't really care. But I think like 8 police died. And this, every year after that, eventually they began to commemorate that. And they call it May Day or Workers' Day, International Workers' Day, and it evolved into a international holiday. But in the United States, they ain't want no parts of that. Even though it started in the United States, the government wanted no parts of that. So as labor movements continue to struggle for things like an 8-hour workday, having a weekends off, things that we have today, they began to yield to that because they didn't want their whole system to be overthrown, basically give you a pacifier. Because ultimately the movement wanted, they wanted the means of production to be in the hands of the workers. It's basically socialism. They wanted, okay, we want to control the means of production. We want to control, these things. So we're working and we're gaining fruits of our own labor. So, but ultimately, what the United States did, they gave us, they gave a few concessions, and they said, okay, we're not going to recognize International Workers' Day. What we're going to do is we're going to give you Labor Day, which is the first Monday in September, because Workers' Day is May 1st, and they actually call that May Day. And it is celebrated everywhere in the world except in the United States and in Canada. So that's kind of the history of Labor Day. Initially, it was birthed out of revolution, and it was watered down in order to keep the American workers' mind away from workers' rights, because that's really what Labor Day, they actually call International Workers' Day Labor Day also. But
Exactly.
the United States tries to distance itself from the actual intent and purpose and what actually brought it about. So that's kind of a history of Labor Day, how it really started, what it's really about, what it's really supposed to be about, and how it is watered down and kind of used to distract us from something that could potentially bring down a system of oppression. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on Labor Day, or the real Labor Day, or the truth behind Labor Day? Just open that
Well,
up.
I think that thank you for that background, because I remember when I was going to school as a younger person um, in elementary, that we did at that particular time we did celebrate May Day at school. Specifically, there were lots of, different ceremonies, different ways we played outside. I don't know if that's still happening in the school system, but I don't remember it being like an official holiday. But I do know that we celebrated May Day without really knowing, I guess, what it was about. The whole purpose of switching it to September is to just kind of distance our knowledge and the intent of workers do have rights. The workers are the backbone of this country. We know that there's still a lot of unemployment. There's still some uh, situations. There are some agencies. There are some big businesses, what we call the monopoly, the monopoly capitalism, that workers' rights are being impinged upon, and that's why you have strikes. Of course, now we have strikes with stewardesses. We have strikes with teachers. We're having strikes with pilots. We're having strikes on every single level, and it's because we have unfair working conditions. Wages do not exactly meet people's basic needs. There's no chance to get ahead or to save. And so it still creates a class system. And that's one of the things that we have to um, be talking about, is that equity in the society. Equity meaning that everybody should have access to food, clothing, shelter, water, without having to struggle. Those are basic needs, and that's why you will have some free programs, and then others you're going to have to pay with every ounce of your life for to maintain your basic needs. So when we say uh, Labor Day, we need to be uniting with the people who labor throughout the world. And I always, from an African centered point of view, we talk about migrant workers. We're talking about, um, uh, you know, uh, what we call temporary workers. There's a lot of things that go on in the background in this country. And then we talk about the lack of access to labor, to jobs in this country. This country does not have a job, one job per person. It doesn't have it. You're dreaming if you think that this country can sustain to have a job for every single man, woman, and youth that's 18 and above. It just doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. The system, capitalism, is not built like that. And so we shouldn't be made to feel because we don't have a job or can't get a job that we don't want a job. We're talking about black people. Black people. new Africans. If we wanted a job, we couldn't get a job. And with that, I yield.
Definitely. Samad, did you want to add anything?
I think that the history in general of Labor Day is interesting, maybe as well. Those two being linked. Um, you know, I mean, it's of course it was out of obligation that you had all of these different industries having to create unions because the, the workers lose. That's how it,
Mm-hmm.
in this particular economic system, somebody is losing and big time. This system does not work without that, right? And at this point in time, honestly and truly, this system is always fed on Black people, right? And lower class people in general. This system it breeds on it. Is looking at can't wait for the fact that you don't know who you are, where you're going, and what you're supposed to be doing because you're easy to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to manipulate you, to hold this job over your head. How many times folks done this that was so crazy, anti-life, anti-them, anti-everything, just because they scared to lose a job? You understand what I'm saying? People put their lives on the line for jobs. If they died today, would replace them next week.
Yep,
I mean, I'm
exactly.
saying this is the lack of respect for human life, the lack of respect for people and their gifts and their talents, the lack of respect. I hear too many. Like me, I give thanks that is not my journey, right? It's not. I attempted, I tried. Spirit says it's a no every time. I thanks for being on this journey of I've always pretty much worked for myself. I'm a contract worker. You can hire me for almost anything, right? But for those that working for somebody is their journey, is them being part of the union, that is the most definitely the best thing to do. Like outside of building for self, zeroing in and focus. If you have not made that decision yet, I would most definitely say you need to be a part of a union. Most definitely. You know what I mean? Like if you be moving realistically, what is we are not separated from this system yet. Unions are important because, like Mama Ayo said, you're gonna get taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
When costs need to be cut, guess what? Who's about to be cut? I mean, I'm just saying.
Yep.
Last hired, first fired.
Exactly.
Last
And then
hired, first fired.
yes, last hired, first fired. And mind you, you are relying on this particular job to feed you, give you the money to get the resources that you need to sustain your life. So that's why within the Republic of New Africa, our goal and aim is not capitalism. Our economic system is Ujamaa, cooperative economics,
Mm-hmm.
meaning, and with this particular system, we rid ourselves of class. Why? Because we know that every single job that somebody does, and Mama Ayo mentioned this earlier, is vital and it's important. And so therefore, all people's basic needs need to be taken care of, and you need to be as your human right on the planet. You need to be able to live on this planet happily and freely, meaning you're not struggling to eat. It's enough food on the planet for everybody. It's enough land on the planet for everybody. It's 8 billion. I'm rounding up 8 billion people on the planet, according to the mathematics and the land scale. It's enough land on the planet for each person to have 6 acres. 6 acres. Y'all know how big 1 acre is? 6. So I'm gonna yield at that because we could talk about this for a long time.
Uh, definitely. Y'all brought up so many great points. So you mentioned the capitalism sets up class struggle. It breaks us into class based on what you do, and so on point when you said in our society we can't have class because every single job is important. Under capitalism, if you have certain type of jobs, you're given a certain amount of respect. You looked at a certain way. If you have these other jobs, then people look down on you, almost spit on you. You're nothing. But if we learn anything from COVID, that kind of throw, that whole class system upside down, because one of the first things that happened is everything got shut down except supposedly essential workers. And the essential workers were all of these people that under this class system that you look down upon. All of the so-called, the people who make sure that everything runs and that you have the things that you need every day. They didn't go through a pandemic. They still worked because they were essential. All of the entertainers, the doctors' law offices even closed. All of the law office closed. All of these people closed. But the person at the grocery store had to do, the maintenance people, they still had to go. The people that you look down on and think that they're nobody or whatever, so it's like, when you look at reality, what's actually important to the human condition, this whole class system that capitalism produces, it falls apart. It does not hold weight. So I mean, it's just an interesting and important phenomenon to point out. And just looking at this system of capitalism and how devastating it is, and how it actually creates all of the ills and dis-ease and makes so many things dysfunctional in society, because capitalism is based on making profits for a certain class of people over the well-being of human beings. Things are not as efficient as they could be or as they should be. There's no reason for us to ever have a light bill. The technology been existing for over 100 years that will give us free technology. This ain't no mystical thinking and stuff like that. The technology is there. They did it in the early 1900s. They created it. But you don't hear about it because that would destroy the oil industry. And these oil industries basically have run the world for the last 100 years.
Exactly.
In every industry that you see corruption, because that's the nature of capitalism. And Labor Day was just kind of a manifestation of the people understanding that this economic system is not good. It's not humane. It's not, it does not benefit the people. But like everything that the system does, once they see that there is a threat, that there's a real threat, if they can't crush it, because sometimes when you use force, that's just going to agitate, that's going to fan the fire. And the system understands that the power is within the people. When the people wake up and we say no more, then the system is in trouble. So the system does everything that they possibly can to control the mindset of the people. So they'll give little concessions. That's what happened with welfare. That's why you have a welfare system, because there was a socialist movement. They said, look, this system is causing crime, disease, death, all type of things. So they said, okay, you know what? We'll give you some successions. And these little pacifiers that they give, they don't really solve the problem. They cover up the problem. In many cases, they allow the system to run more efficiently. Like the welfare, that didn't solve the problem of poverty. It was implemented in a way that removed Black men from the household. They say, yo, Black woman, I will give you some benefits. I'll give you a place to stay. I will give you an income.
Absolutely.
I will give you food. But on the one condition, that man cannot be in the household. That cannot be in the household. So it's like a trick gift. And that's the nature of capitalism. I'm going to go to a couple of comments, because we got a couple of people chiming in. I see somebody who's not identified. It just says Facebook user. There's a good documentary called Finally Got the News, dealing with new African participation in the labor movement. It deals with Revolutionary Action Movement. That's RAM. So Revolutionary
That's correct.
Organization. Okay. All right, we ought to check that out. Finally Got the News. Okay.
Sure.
Joe Gonzalez. My reference to Labor Day with the understanding of fighting to free the land, The land belongs to those that laboriously work the land, tilling the soil for centuries. Black and brown workers are the driving force, hands down across the board. Stay strong, comrades, in all our efforts and endeavors.
Okay.
1,000%, definitely, definitely. Melly Queen said that's why these pigs are so reckless with our lives, because they are here to protect and serve the industry, business, and corporation, not people. You are 1,000% right, Melly Queen.
And
Definitely,
it's
definitely.
it's very contradictory in my mind if you're looking at it from a dialectical historical perspective. You're telling me from 1619 to 1853 that the black labor was unpaid for and it was sun up to sundown. And you're saying that the labor movements in the North became very, very angry because the same type of system was being imposed on them for minimal wages, long hours, and they couldn't handle it. When we talk about the North, could not handle it, but enslaved Africans could for 357 years, brothers and sisters. And you have a short amount of time where some of those inhumane conditions were imposed on people who looked like them, and it couldn't happen. They had to unite. They had to come in and say, this is unjust. This is unfair. No child labor. What about our children? What about our children that was laboring from the time they were 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years old? Please, come on now. Let's go back to our historical perspective. Do not insult our intelligence. Yeah, Labor Day for who? May Day for who? International who? I don't like it. It's unfair and it's unjust.
Excellent.
Again, we say the nature of this system.
Yeah, definitely. Excellent point. Excellent point. That's the whole thing I was trying to get at, when we was talking about like the rise of this movement kind of just corresponds to the end of slavery. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, excellent observation.
So they had to continue the system of slavery in some way, manner, or fashion. It was best to, well, I'm going to let you think you're making some type of choice. Huh? I'm going to play with your mind here. Play with your mind. I'm going to throw you some couple of cents, $1, $2 a day. You know what I'm saying? When you racking up billions and you letting folks folks doing all the work, bringing the whole vision into fruition. About to give them some nickels and dimes. I'm with Mama Ayo, like fire burn Babylon. Let's go.
I mean, I'm saying you're talking about more than 12 hours a day. You're talking about every day, except every now and then when we were being released. And yet, when that same concept is applied to people there were new Africans there, and there were other kind of immigrants there, but most of them were European based immigrants. It was not comparable to them. And I'm saying they didn't even think about, well, these enslaved Africans that helped to launch this whole industrialization of America, we couldn't even handle that because they saw how unjust it was. They felt it. They felt the labor. They saw the filth. They saw the inhumanity of man against man. But it was because the inhumanity was against people who look like them, by people who look like them. They didn't give a frick about us.
Yep.
They didn't care when we were in those conditions. That's why I'm saying this is a contradiction. Yet we have evolved to an international labor movement. Okay.
So my question is to all the listeners and to just Black people, new Africans in general. Do we want to continue like this? Because you understand what I'm saying? Like, we at some point have to make a collective conscious decision. If we know a whole system is riding on I, like the whole thing is in existence because we comply, right? On a collective level, we comply. It's not good enough for just a couple of folks not complying. Everybody got to not comply, y'all. Okay? You got to starve these folks to death. I yield.
Definitely. Very, 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 very much on point. I mean, it's really interesting, to notice. You said, Mama Ayo, that when these white workers basically got a fraction of the inhumane treatment that our African ancestors, were forced and not getting paid a cent. They basically they were burning up police officers when they had to endure these type of things. Yeah, that's very much on point. Let's go to some comments, because this is a really important a really important comment right here. But I need to find who this person is. It's just they're either on a site that they're watching the show from somewhere that is not identifying them. They're not hiding their identity. It's just something going on with the platform. He said there are many people barbecuing and drinking right now in celebration of Labor Day and don't have health care or a living wage. Sad. You're right, Prophecy. Most people don't know the true origins of the U.S. labor movement. It was started by wealthy white labor representatives in the CIO-AFL to protect white workers with the exclusion of black workers. And that's a very important, because a lot of these when this labor union was going on in these fights, black people were still locked out. For the most part, black people had our own struggle going on, just trying to get in the door, just trying to be a part of. That's a whole history of that alone. So I wish I knew exactly who that was who said that, but that is an excellent point. You are so correct with that. Brother Zumbi, how you doing, Brother Zumbi? We just saw you on the commercial. Nothing controls the energy of the sun but the threat of the state. So correct. I mean, a lot of people, there's a treaty with I think I forgot exactly what particular state, but it was with one of the indigenous people, basically for the land. And it was like saying, well, for like a couple of dollars. They said, well, okay, we're gonna buy this land from you for a couple of dollars. And they was like saying, see, people were stupid, they sold the land. And the reality is, when you look at how indigenous people society sets up, nobody owns the land. The land belongs to the people. Not only just the people, the creatures of the earth. The land belongs to everybody, just like the air. You don't own the air, So when the indigenous people say, okay, they sold you this land, from their understanding, they selling you something that they don't even have the rights to sell you in the first place. That's like saying, okay, I'm gonna allow you to buy this air. The lakes, the rivers, the oceans, those, that's the earth for the people. Just like you said, nothing controls the energy of the sun, but the threat of the state. And under this capitalist system, they claim ownership over everything. Let there be an issue with the oxygen. They will try to sell you oxygen, and they will do it, So absolutely correct, Brother Zombie. Good to see from you, hear from you. Joe Gonzalez, fight for power. That be self-employed is a good implementation against capitalism. Yeah, it's a start. It's a start. That ain't the overall solution. It's just, it's a stepping stone, because things develop from the simple to the complex. But ultimately, we got to get rid of this crap, man. Because we just got to get rid of it. Bakari, Jumbor, a true queen, on point queen, facts, no doubt, and I agree. 100%. When we get back, we're gonna do a Black Power file, and we're gonna talk about this inventor who I think it was early September he invented what was that? The combustion. What was that motor?
The control for the combustion engine.
Yeah, and we're celebrating him because he invented that around this time. I think it was like September, maybe the 2nd. But he actually invented a whole lot more. He's responsible
Yes, he
for
did. Yes, he
a
did.
lot of the refrigeration. When you have trucks that go
Yes.
around with these refrigeration, he's responsible for all of that and a whole lot more. And we're gonna honor this great inventor when we get back right here on the New
Yes.
African Perspectives. Free
Our
land.
our new African brilliance.
Yes.
Which is what
I fight for land, independence, and for reparation. We gotta do for self-determination.
Being independent is a very, very good thing because it means that you don't have to be dependent, especially on people who don't like you. I mean, growing your own food, like teaching your own babies our real history, the real truth.
As a people, we are not grown unless we have independence. We are not grown as long as we living under another man's system, operating in his way of things, his laws, and his ordinances that support his rule, actually. So to me, it's not the importance of self-determination and independence. It is mandatory.
Or we could make a change, get off our ass, do something else. Go get some land together, grow our food and do for self. Create our own stores, our own banks, start building wealth. Break them generational curses and start healing self. See with my last breath.
Frederick McKinley Jones was a early 20th century Black inventor who revolutionized both the cinema and refrigeration industry. Over his lifetime, Jones had overcome a multitude of challenges and adversities as a poor kid who learned to survive without both his parents. However, he triumphed to become a successful businessman and mechanical engineer who patented more than 60 inventions in divergent fields, with 40 of those patents in refrigeration. He did not receive the credit and acknowledgments for numerous others, but he continued to follow his passions and develop devices to make life better for everyone around him. Today, Frederick Jones gasoline-powered refrigeration units are in widespread use as truckers transport food and perishables to grocery stores all across this nation. The trucking industry owes a great deal of gratitude to Mr. Jones, the king of cool. In this original Black Excellence video, we will be featuring Frederick Jones, inventor of the first automatic
Okay, that was Frederick M. Jones, inventor of so many, many great, wonderful inventions. Just highlighting some of the brilliance of our people, and it's so much that we don't know about, so much that frankly European people have taken credit for, because he didn't even get credit for everything that he invented. Other people got credit for him, but still, with the things that he did, there is so much. He was able to create a $1 million industry, way back then. So what were y'all thoughts on Mr. Frederick M. Jones?
I like the documentary where they called him the king of cool.
King of cool.
Yep. Yeah, that okay. If he had over 60 something patents and over 40 of them were for refrigeration, I mean, the king of cool. That's the perfect name.
Yeah.
He co-found what's the name of that company? Thermo King or Thermo something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. But I'm happy that we are highlighting some of our brilliant inventors, because really and truly our brilliance, the way and means in which we think outside of the box. I'm saying outside of the box because we know we are building a totally different society, right? We're building a totally different society. So we have to utilize our brilliance of thinking outside of the box, inventing in alignment with universal law and order, in alignment with nature, utilizing our brilliance to repurpose all of that. Like just how he revolutionized, just revolutionized being able to take product from one place to the other to be refrigerated. I mean, that's huge. That's huge in distribution. You understand what I'm saying? People are making billions and billions and trillions just off of his invention alone, being able to travel thousands of miles across the country. You know what I'm saying? And deliver, stuff that needs to be refrigerated. So I mean, hey, kudos.
Definitely. Mama Ayo, did you have anything you wanted to add? Talk about our brother Jones, Frederick M. Jones.
I definitely appreciate y'all speaking about him because I remember so clearly some of the information that I would embed into my classroom to help my students understand that a lot of things that we take for granted were implemented and invented by Black people that we never think about, and they're not embedded into the curriculum of this nation. You would not know unless you yourself, as a new African, did the research and brought those things forward into the classroom. And because it's not readily available for our children to know about that. I mean, how many of our children know about assemblies? The filament in the light, the traffic light, the simple golf tee. So those are the things that we talk about, and it's not just every so-called Black History Month. You talk about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, not to diminish their contributions, but that should be uh, just a sliver of the knowledge of self of people who are new Africans that contributed to world history, not just U.S. history, but to world history. So, and that, don't get me on my soapbox because I'm firecracker hot about the strategy to diminish new African history in this country and abroad. Firecracker hot about how we as new Africans are accepting the fact that this movement across the nation to diminish who we are and what we are and our contributions to this land. Firecracker hot about that. We got to rebel. It's about rebellion.
Definitely. And there's a lot of, because just looking at acting this, it just made me think of a couple of things. There's not even history yet, history in the making that our people are still doing, because there's a brother by the name of Moses West who created this invention that takes the water out of the atmosphere and produces it. Basically gets water out of thin air as a machine that produces gallons and gallons and gallons of water every hour that can serve whole communities with just one machine. It's brilliant. So basically you can be out in the middle of a desert and have this solar powered machine, and it will supply water for whole communities, for a whole city, really. And his brother, is doing his thing now, from a grassroots movement. And we probably have to highlight this brother at some point in time. In fact, he went to Michigan and helped them out, helped them get clean water. And it is amazing technology. It just takes the water out of the atmosphere and you can drink it,
And
also,
he went to Jackson. Well,
yeah,
when
he
they were
went to
having
Jackson also.
their
Yep.
water problem.
Yep, you're right. And it's also a sister who invented this technique that basically looked like it cure cancer. It looks like it isolates the cancer cell or cancer tumor and just gets rid of it. No surgery, none of that invasive, no radiation, no chemo, nothing. And it's been successful in mice, and you don't hear about these people. You don't hear about these people. Now I know what's going on with that sister. Her technology will probably be attacked and will probably be suppressed because she's basically on her own trying to have a grassroots campaign to get information out about this. You think that someone with that much of a promising technology, you have people just jumping on it, wanting to spread it as soon as possible, but it's not the case. She's out trying to get the word out herself. But because this is capitalism, a lot of people make money off of chemotherapy, dialysis, and all type of other treatments that of these diseases that we don't even really have to have. We can prevent. So I imagine she has an uphill battle, but like literally, these are the type of technologies that we need for our nation. We need that type of brilliance, and we need to cultivate these type of ideals to create a nation that is not about exploiting people and not, dependent upon the exploitation of the working class in order for a small amount of people to ball out of control. But yeah, well, I just realized I got a meeting I got to go to in a little while. I forgot about that. Yeah, that individual was Freedom Power. That was Freedom Power who then we couldn't get
All
the
right,
name.
brother Freedom Power.
Freedom Power. Zumbi said the king of cool. Brother Confident Zoro OKK, power to the family. I'm still in Jacksonville. Got to get out in the neighborhood. Respect. That's right. I think we done it again. Another very important episode. Y'all got anything y'all want to say before we get out of here?
I appreciate everybody chiming in. Have some regulars chiming in. Let's connect. We do have a work study training starting for just those that are on here. So if you want to learn more about becoming a conscious citizen of the Regional Government Republic of New Africa, hit us up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't just talk. This is not just we do this for the community, to inform the community. But most of our day is working. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Most of the day is working. You got anything you want to say, Mama Ayo, before we get out of here?
Just remain vigilant. Make sure that we do our self-work so that we can help build this nation. We're still calling on men, women, children to put everything in you, your beautiful gifts, your intelligent minds, your new African elevated hearts to the service of the race, because we're about, of course, self-determination, land independence, and reparations. So justly deserved.
Ashe.
Definitely. And like we've all said, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your participation. Let's make sure that we take these words and manifest them into action. Because ain't nobody gonna come down from the sky and save us. Ain't nobody going abracadabra, hocus pocus, and boom, change our condition. That is completely up to us. And the beautiful thing about it is we can do it. It is within our grasp. It is within our reach. We have the plans. Our ancestors did the work to figure out what we need to be doing. So it's just up for us to put into that work and make it happen, y'all. So with that, free the land, and we will see y'all again next week. Probably see y'all again tomorrow on Foundations of the Nation, right? Y'all gonna be on?
More than likely, yes.
Okay. All right. So make sure y'all tune in.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best.
All right. Free the land, family.
Free the land.
Africa, Africa.
My name is Kwaku Adisi, and I'm one of the brothers on the Johns Island here. Okay. And what I do is a combination of things, but I participate in a lot of Afrocentric programs and to help wake our people up. A lot of people don't know. And trying to make us a better people and be the people that we're supposed to be. Understand that this is a tree that our ancestors, who was on John's Island, the tree was a place that we buried our people, had ceremonies around this tree in order to honor our ancestors, worship them. But a lot of people don't know it because through history things have been watered down and forgotten about.
We are now on what used to be the plantation of Mr. Justice Angel. Okay, and so he had this land in the 1700s, And so primarily, this tree was on his property even back then. This is the oldest known tree in this part of North America, east of the Mississippi River. It was here during the period not just of enslavement, but during the days when the Edisto, the Yamasee, and the Wadmalaw, and various other Native American tribal groups walked this land. So they have the saying, if these streets could talk, they could tell us wonders. The same is true of this tree, because this tree was here when Justice Angel owned this plantation, where, of course, many of our ancestors from the Johns Island area were once enslaved.
The people that buried under this tree. Because as it was saying, this was a marker of grave one time. On the plantation, they buried their trees so they can know where their people was buried. No ceremony for my people in this land. We remember them today because we need the positive energy of the ancestors be with us in our travel, as our journey. We need the power of the ancestors not to survive, but to live. We live. We don't survive. Animals survive. We live. As Africans, we live. No matter where we are, we live because we have the DNA information of Africa in us, and whatever name was before they named it Africa,